Hello, everyone. Welcome to 5 Questions with LeRoy Butler. We could call this the Crisis Edition. Or is it a crisis yet?
Not yet.
Not yet?
Not yet.
Only if they lose to the Bears?
Yeah. Some 1 and 2 team is going to make the playoffs and laugh about these kind of weeks, but it just makes the Chicago week kind of a must-win.
They've been 1 and 2 each of the last 2 years.
Yeah, they've done it before, so that's why it's no
They've
crisis.
made the playoffs, but it's certainly not a good position when you have to go to Chicago. Then you got Minnesota at home on a Thursday night, 3 days later. And they're not playing very well right now.
And not to mention you lost to Seattle a conference game, you lose to Detroit, it's a division game. So, but the good news is that you're playing 2 division opponents right away, and you can get that back on track.
Okay. We'll talk about the Bears at the end. Let's get right into our dissection of the Packers offense, which, you know, who thought we'd be talking about that after 3 weeks?
Right.
You know, the defense was the one that looked bad the first couple of weeks, and now they're starting to come around a little bit.
I think if you talk to most people in barbershops or in the malls or somewhere in the bars, they always said come back to number 12. But at least we have Aaron Rodgers. He kind of covers up for some of the bad stuff.
Right.
So if he's ever playing with pedestrian numbers like 167 yards, passing, it's some glaring problems in the offense. And one of the things I think they need to improve on with Aaron is it's almost like you tell the younger quarterbacks, don't take a sack here because we're in field goal range.
Right.
Don't force the ball because you can always use your check downs, and try to be more efficient. He used to be 68, almost 70% completion. He can fall out of his bed and get 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. But it's becoming a struggle because teams, the first 2 weeks, Jordy Nelson had 30 targets.
Yeah.
That was alarming. So I knew it was going to come down, Tom, but I also knew that the other guys had to step up. And some people look at it and say, maybe Devontae Adams or Cobb and these guys, maybe they're not open. And we've seen some plays where maybe they were. Yeah.
Now, I was one of the, I'll fall on the sword here, I was one of the guys who poo-pooed that they had thrown Nelson 30 passes.
Right.
But when you go to this Detroit game and start to look, he is pretty laser focused on Nelson.
Yes.
And we looked at that one play, and we'll look at it on X's and O's.
Yeah, stay tuned for that.
It was that, there were 2 different plays actually we looked at.
Right.
One was the sack he took on 3rd and 5.
That took him out of field goal range.
Yeah, and as we saw, there were several guys open, but he was locked in on Nelson, and he took a sack.
When the play comes in, Tom, for so many seconds, and he's talking to Aaron, the first thing the coach tells you, he gives him the play, and then he'll say, listen, we're in field goal range. Don't force anything, because worst case, this may be a tight game.
Right.
A field goal can win it for us. Now, after that goes off, it's up to Rodgers to either audible to another play or execute the play. So I know he wants to get it to 87, but he got to go through his progression, 1, 2, 3, 4, back to 1. He got to do all that while you got almost a makeshift offensive line that's blocking pretty decent at that particular time. But you got a rookie center. I mean, you got somebody at right tackle that's a little hurt, or somebody you may not trust at this particular time. But again, with that front four of Detroit, the ball has to come out on rhythm.
Yeah.
Rhythm. And I think that's the way you beat. He was 9-1 against Detroit.
Yeah.
You didn't expect
he
that.
was not in rhythm, and he was not spreading the ball out and not looking for other receivers. That was a big problem.
So I don't know if he's been told that or something he's just doing. I don't know.
I'm sure they're going to review that this week.
Yeah.
He talked a little bit about they needed to make better adjustments, but he's got to look at his game too. I don't know what he meant by that exactly, but
he's a harsh critic on himself. I don't think he likes hearing it from other people, but I think that's part of coaching. You have to accept coaching, especially when you have a quarterback's coach, offensive coordinator, and you got a head coach that calls the plays. So you really got 3 guys talking to you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, for these last 5, 6 years, he's been the best in the league. So at this particular time, I think he understands I got to throw these gaudy numbers for us to compete every week. And it shouldn't have to be that way, especially when the defense played pretty good.
Now, there's another layer to this, and that's that the running game hasn't been very good either.
Yeah.
And at least if the guy's not going to be sharp, he can, rely on Eddie Lacy to be his guy. But we looked at the tape, and Eddie Lacy isn't the same guy as we saw a year ago, is he?
I think two guys together, and you could throw in DeJuan Harris, but the two guys together, Lacy and Starks, two of the best in the league together. But they both do two separate things. If you come in shotgun a massive amount of the time, Starks is your guy. If you're going to line up with Kuhn and power I-backs, and you're going to have a power running game, Lacy's your guy. Lacy can't go east and west. He has to go north and south. We're going to show a play at X's and O's to where he missed 2 holes because he was trying to string it out.
Right.
And the first year, you're going to catch everybody by surprise. You're a rookie of the year. The second year, people focus in on you and say, listen, we know how to defeat this guy. Keep pushing him east and west and getting tackled to the ball. You may see Starks playing a little bit more.
At the same time we looked at Lacy, we looked at a really nice Starks run, and it was picture perfect how he put his foot in the ground, he waited right for the block, and then he hit it up north and south. Exactly what, you're talking about. Lacy's been doing a lot of dancing lately.
Right.
And, so you think Starks needs to play a little bit more.
Yeah, and they didn't even play him against the Jets, but they're going to have to put Starks in there. Remember now, you won a Super Bowl with this guy, and when he made that run, he was one of the best in the league in 2010. Now, I'll say this. Both guys, you got to keep them healthy. That's where DeJuan Harris comes in.
Right.
But it depends on how much the Packers really want to be in shotgun.
Yeah.
Can you have a power running game in the shotgun?
Right.
Or can you audible and do both and play John Kuhn a little bit more? And Richard Rodgers, I don't know if he's the answer right now at your tight end for blocking.
Right.
I mean, he's been violently just
tossed around.
Just thrown around a little bit because he's undersized. But if you're going to feature him in the passing game, get the ball to him.
Yeah.
When he's in there, get the ball to him. But if he's in there for a blocker, I'm not saying Corliss is the answer at blocking. But you need a bigger guy in there if you're going to start running to that way. And on that safety play, he just got manhandled.
Right.
And Lacy had no one to run. And who knows, and Levy had a spectacular day for Detroit, number 54. That probably put him in the Pro Bowl. Yeah. I mean, that was a big play, that safety play. And as you can see, Rodgers is on his knees. You need a guy firing out, creating space for Lacy when you have a guy that runs heavy like him. He needs space to run. He just didn't get it.
Now, it's been a lot of talk about, they need a tight end up the field. Where's Brandon Bostic? But, really, Randall Cobb should be occupying that space. He's got the middle of the field. He can take it left, right. He's got an advantage playing in the slot all the time.
No question.
He's been a non-factor.
Well, I don't know if he's over the injury yet. Usually it takes you a year and a half to get over yet. He was open a couple times, though, and just not getting the targets. The targets are 87. Everybody else get in where you fit in. He also had a couple drops that I think he could have caught. The Randall Cobb of old, before the injury, would have caught those passes.
Right.
Maybe that's kind of the focus with Aaron Rodgers. If you drop a pass, I'm not coming back to you. Because it could be some indecisiveness with Rodgers and Devontae Adams, which they seem to be on target against the Jets, but off a little bit here against Detroit.
Right. Let's look to the Bears. Looked very impressive against the Jets last night. Beat San Francisco. They went clear across country, won 2 huge road games, and now they come home, feeling very good. What has impressed you, or what do you think stands in the way for the Packers with the Bears?
Well, the Bears have a rookie corner that's been flying around. That kid's very good. Their defense normally wasn't very good. They brought in, some veteran help up front. They went and got 2 different linemen up front at Lamar, and they went out and got, who I thought one of the best pass rushers, in Minnesota. That's the funny. Julius Peppers comes over here from the Bears, and you get 69 from Minnesota.
Jared Allen.
Jared Allen comes in. The defense changed, and now this defense is playing good enough to make the offensive weapon of the Bears of the combine maybe the best in the league. Forte, 2 big receivers, Alshon Jeffries and Marshall, a tight end that scored twice against the Jets, Bennett. And it's just all come down to Jay Cutler. If Jay Cutler can put the ball in his athletes' hands, it's going to be a tough game for the Packers. And I'll tell you what, you don't want to go 1-3.
Yeah.
You just don't. Teams 1-3, it's hard to make the playoffs at 1-3 with 2 division losses back to back.
Yeah, 2 NFC losses on your record already.
Yeah.
You know, you're not looking good. You got to start winning division games.
Absolutely.
In a hurry.
Is it too early for a must-win? As a media, I'll tell you what I think, but as a media, is it too early to say must-win?
I don't really believe in that must-win kind of stuff until the end, when it really is a must-win.
Right. Like the last time the Chicago Bears, remember, off their field, Randall Cobb, that was a must-win.
I mean, who thought that they were going to be in the playoff race then? So it's too early to have must-wins, but there's no question that 1-3, and they're in a deep hole.
Yeah, real quick, divisional rivals, and you're playing the older rivalry history against the Bears. It's a game most players think about. It can put you where you want to be, get you back at 500. You take a side. The first quarter of the season is done 2-2, very respectable. So I look for the Packers to turn it around.
Yeah, and I will say this though. I came into this year thinking it was going to be much harder to win at Detroit and Chicago, as the Packers have done in the past, because both those teams are improved.
They're very improved,
We'll see. Anyway, thanks for joining us, and be sure you tune in for X's and O's. We're going to have a couple interesting plays to look at. See you next week.